Hey, what's up, guys? This is Speaks back again with another video. And in this video topic, I'm going to be talking about Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe discuss Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. So, as you know, obviously, Shannon Sharpe has left undisputed with Skip Bayless to go on his own and form his, do his own thing. As of right now, he has joined ESPN First Take to join Stephen A. Smith and be on the show weekly. But right before the weekend that he was about to join First Take and make his debut, he had Stephen A. Smith guest star on his podcast, Club Shay Shay, and they discussed a multitude of topics. And one of those topics that was obviously discussed was Michael Jordan versus LeBron James and who was the greatest of all time. Now, granted, they gave their takes on the matter. It was pretty much decided on each end. Obviously, Stephen A. Smith saying that Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time, and Shannon Sharpe giving his take on why LeBron James was the greatest of all time. And then they were just going back and forth, and obviously Shannon Sharpe was using his old tired lines of why LeBron James is the greatest of all time, making absurd assertions about LeBron James, saying that Michael Jordan never beat the Boston Celtics, never beat the Lakers in their prime in the '80s, blah blah. And then he also made assertions saying how Michael Jordan didn't play nobody in the '90s, and all those talking points were refuted by Stephen A. Smith point by point, because what Shannon Sharpe does is he gets overly emotional and he starts talking really, really fast, saying a whole bunch of nonsense to try to make his point, to make it seem like he's saying a lot of things, but really he's not saying nothing. It's quite disrespectful for him to say that Michael Jordan didn't play nobody in the finals, when by the time Michael Jordan got to the NBA finals, his road to the NBA finals were tougher than LeBron James' road to the NBA finals. LeBron James played in obviously a weak Eastern Conference, which is the reason why he made it to so many finals. On the other side of Jordan making it to the NBA finals, he had a myriad of tough teams he had to face before he even got to the NBA Finals. And by the time he even got to the NBA Finals, he was playing at least 60 plus win teams, at least with one All-Star / Hall of Famer when he reached the finals, which was just with him and Scottie Pippen. I don't want to hear about nothing about Horace Grant and Dennis Rodman. Horace Grant was a one-time All-Star, and that was when Michael Jordan wasn't even playing. And then by the time he played with Dennis Rodman was around 35 years old. It wasn't prime Detroit Piston Defensive Player of the Year Dennis Rodman. Now, granted, Dennis Rodman wasn't no slouch. He was still a decent defender and good rebounder. But again, he was in his mid-30s by the time he even got to the Chicago Bulls to even help them win those 3 times. I want to take nothing away from him. He was a good player, but he was a third bona fide star on the team. It was Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. When they faced the Magic Johnson Lakers, that was when Magic Johnson won MVP that year. Then the next year, they faced a 60 plus win Clyde Drexler and the Portland Trailblazers. After that, they faced Charles Barkley, uh, Phoenix Suns. After that, Michael Jordan retired, and then he came back, and then that's when they went 72-10 to win that title against the Supersonics. And then obviously you already know they won back to back against a really, really tough Utah's Jazz team with Stockton and Malone. Really tough team. So this whole assertion that Michael Jordan didn't play nobody in the finals, that's just a lie. That's just something LeBron James fanboys like to use when they want to be like, oh, who did Michael Jordan face? That's the equivalent of the Golden State Warriors, blah, blah. That's not Michael Jordan's fault. That Michael Jordan faced who was in front of him, just like how LeBron James had to face who was in front of him. They say that Golden State was an unbeatable team and nobody was able to beat them. But my thing is, if he's the GOAT, he should. If LeBron James is the so-called GOAT, he should be able to defeat that team. Why is he always seen as this great ultimate player but he's always an underdog against a team like that. And besides, they were unbeatable team. Even if they were an unbeatable team, if you take Golden State out of the situation, Cleveland Cavaliers was the second best team in the league. That was the only team that could possibly be able to compete with the Golden State Warriors back and forth. So I don't want to hear nothing about they were this unbeatable team with or without Kevin Durant. That's BS. And then another thing, if you have count them, 6 NBA Finals losses on your record, you cannot be the GOAT. I don't care how many times he went to the finals straight. He did it in a weaker Eastern Conference. If you have 6 losses, and on top of that, if you have more losses than you have wins in the NBA Finals, you cannot be the greatest player of all time. That's ridiculous. It's the same thing as Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the GOAT, even though he has 3 Super Bowl losses, but he has more Super Bowl wins than he has losses. If Tom Brady had 7 Super Bowl losses and 3 Super Bowl championships, nobody would be saying he's the greatest football player of all time. Nobody would be saying he's the greatest quarterback of all time. It will be seen as ridiculous, to say the least. But I continue. The next point I want to talk about is Shannon Sharpe overall on the podcast. While he was having his discussion with Stephen A. Smith, he represents the typical overly emotional, toxic LeBron James fanboy when having these types of discussion. He's yelling, being loud, being overly emotional, being sensitive. You would think LeBron James was related to him or his wife or something, the way that he defends LeBron James. Instead of hearing somebody out and hearing why they think Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, he has to cut them off and start yelling and start making irrational, illogical points just to prop up LeBron James as the greatest of all time. And when you have to do all that, that just know that LeBron James is not the greatest of all time. There's so much empirical facts to show that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James when it comes to accolades, championships, eye tests, etc. It's so obvious that LeBron James just doesn't compare to Michael Jordan. Not saying that he's not there, but it's just, it doesn't compare. But when you have these sycophants that's in the media keep continually propping him up, trying to like rain on us, like piss on our faces saying it's rain, nobody's gonna believe that bullcrap. And when you keep trying to force it down our throat, saying that LeBron James is the greatest thing since sliced bread, it's going to turn people off because nobody wants to hear that BS. And the worst part about it is, after all the accolades, the years of him going to NBA Finals, when he fails, the worst part is that they make excuses for why he fell. Oh, he was too young to. He was ahead of his time against the San Antonio Spurs. Oh, he didn't have enough help to help him win a championship. Oh, he was going up against the greatest team of all time. Oh, this person got hurt, or this, or he was playing in a high altitude air, or he was injured, or something. It's always something with LeBron James. It's never that he just flat out lost. It's always a reason. And that's the biggest thing that turns people off with LeBron James, because he sends out narrative excuses to his media fanboys, and then he expects everybody to just run with it once the narrative gets off. That's not how that works. You can't do that. If you lost, you lost. Again, LeBron James is in year 21, heading into year 21, and he has a lot of tread on his tires. So the chance of him winning another NBA title is slim. So he's trying to rack up on a whole bunch of accolades and play as long as he can just to say, oh, look what I did. I did this. No other players did that, blah, blah. And it's just nauseating when his fanboys overextend it with regards to that. For example, the whole all-time scoring list. Nobody cared about that all-time scoring list when Kareem had the record. Nobody cared about it at all. People never make a claim how Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could be the greatest player of all time. I have a number 2 all time, but I'm just saying nobody makes a case that he's the greatest player of all time when he has the accolades, the stats, and the eye test to prove that he possibly could be the greatest player of all time. But nobody said that. he had that all-time scoring list for a while until LeBron James broke it. But now that LeBron James broke the record, now for some reason he's the greatest player of all time, which is just ridiculous. Nobody said that Kareem was the greatest player of all time when he broke the record, and I don't want to hear that BS when it comes to LeBron James breaking the record. Again, congratulations to him breaking a record. That's a great feat that he's done. Breaking that record was not easy. It takes a lot of made baskets, and it takes years to even reach that record and not let alone break it. But that does not make you the greatest player of all time. There are so much things that Michael Jordan have over LeBron James. The fact that Shannon Sharpe likes to go on his tirade and media manipulation narratives about LeBron James and how he's the greatest is just pathetic at this point. But again, it's just for entertainment, so it's whatever. There were a lot of things else that they talked about, but I think that him and him and Stephen A. Smith talking about that was pretty interesting to talk about, so that's why I made this video. But you let me know in the comment section down below. Did you watch the podcast with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay? What you thought about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. This Ito Speaks out.